Hi, my name is Karen Byrne, and I'm going to be in this class 675. I'm trying to get I'm going to get my authorization, and I've been teaching autistic children, grades 9 through 12, for approximately 10 years. I've been teaching in the school district for 17. This is my Art Core classroom. I have lots of sensory items, most of which my kids, I must tell you, break. The longevity here isn't that long, but I keep getting more of them. They gave me some of these weird sensory toys, like this cushion to sit on. No one ever sits on this, okay? This is a mess. But I have lots of other toys which have been a hit. I have, my favorite toy is actually, is my Furbies. I get a lot of bang for my buck with a Furby. But other than that, I have lots of food incentives because my kids like to eat. And we have breakfast in the classroom. So I'm in LAUSD, that's my location. Van Nuys High School, and I run the Art Core department here. What else do I do? Let's see. It asks me my experience with assessment. That's all we do is assess. What are you, crazy? I can show you an assessment schedule that'll rock your world. Okay, for example, I got over here to my handy dandy. Sorry, I had to leave my screen for a second. Here, I'm back. Here's spring. It's nothing but assessment, okay? We got the SBAC, we got AP testing, we got alternative testing. I don't do alternative anymore. We have the California Science Test. We have testing for testing. We have the CELT. Okay. Then we have IEPs. Then we have the Woodcock-Johnson. Then we have, oh my God, there's so many layers of assessment. Assessment drives the curriculum. So all the assessments I care about are assessing where I'm going next with what I'm teaching. The rest of it is nonsense. It's just to make test makers money, which is what I should have gone into rather than doing this job. However, that's a whole nother story. So you're probably wondering on this stuff, talking about assessment for cars and da-da-da. I don't get to have choices here, guys. Assessment is decided for us. And we use cars and SRS. Why do we do that? Because we're told to do that. I don't even do that. I have a school psychologist that does that. She does the assessment because she runs those meetings which decide eligibility and whether that child is even eligible for services. So at the end of the day, what are we looking at? We're looking at the picture of the whole child. We're not just looking at IQ, although we are looking at IQ. And certainly when we have to put them into an alternative program or into a high school diploma track, we look at IQ. But we also look at social-emotional, and we look at, more importantly, the functional level of the child. Can they function on their own? How much can they function on their own? Because there's a huge difference between my classroom and the alternative classrooms. Most of those kids are not very verbal, if verbal at all. Most of them can't get from one side of the campus to the other without an aid. So my children are a little bit higher, my students. I say my children because they are my children. But we have a holistic approach. And we use cars. It's easier for the teachers because there's surveys, there's things that are easier for them to write than rather a report, especially with the huge classrooms that we have here at high school level. And then also, there's a technical component that comes along with cars and SRS, which can be done to write up the report. So this technical, what I call gathering of information and data to spit out a report really, really helps. And that's why we have Woodcock-Johnson. And I'm just being frank. Okay, so what else do you want to know? You want to know what I do on a rainy day? What are you, nuts? All right. What are you hoping to learn from this class? I'm not so sure about learning from the class, but I think you can always better your practice. I mean, that's one thing that I do. As a national board teacher, I always look at how I can approach things a little bit differently. I like to keep up to speed, if not be ahead of the curve. I like to have a lot of information that I can impart to the parents, and yeah, and that's about the size of that. What do I do on a rainy day? Back to that. Rainy days. I have a lot of dogs, so I play with my dogs, and they also provide for my students some support. I like to engage them with animals so they develop relationships with things other than themselves and their iPads. We do work on iPads and technology a lot. It's one way to enter and engage my students. But more importantly, I think it is an area of interest to them. It's a high area of interest. And with arts, finding a high level of interest is going to be a way to get them to learn. So accessing the curriculum through technology, and then assessment. Assessment drives the curriculum. So I do a lot of assessment online. My kids, some of them can write, or some of them can do math. Usually there's a deficit in one of the areas. Sometimes there's a deficit in both, but usually in one. So certain areas of the brain are just not wired the way they would normally be. A lot of the better students, the magnet students that are autistic, are mainstreamed. This is a self-contained classroom. So this is where they're more sheltered if they need that. Most of my stuff is taught close to grade level, but it's heavily modified. So every child has a chance, even if, say, they don't have the intellectual capacity to do the work. And we do a lot of interfacing with the general ed population because I like to have them have an atypical peer to be a good model. And that's me, and that's my class. So, and on rainy days, which we have had very few, you can find me watching Netflix. I watch a lot of Netflix. And I watch a lot of television and crawl under the covers and hope no one finds me. That's what I do on a rainy day. Hope to see all of you or speak to you soon. Take care. Bye now.